Hey guys, today we're going to talk about how to exchange your foreign driver's license for a British one. Now the first step is to complete a quiz. The UK government has actually put together a very short questionnaire to figure out whether you are eligible to use this service or not, and we're gonna go through it. And I'll also make sure to leave a link in the description so you can do the quiz yourself. Question 1. You are normally a resident if you live in Great Britain for 185 days in each calendar year. Now, if you are on the UK on a visa, such as the Youth Mobility Scheme visa, you can answer yes. You are not a British citizen, that is a separate thing, but you are a resident. Question 2, your license will say what type of vehicles you can drive. So looking at your home country driver's license, most likely you're going to select car or motorcycle. Question 3, designated countries or territories are. Now it lists a whole bunch of countries and territories. Have a look through the list. I hope that your country is listed because if you are, then it's very easy to exchange your license. Of course, you can also be from the European Union, Great Britain or Northern Ireland, Jersey, Guernsey, or Isle of Man, a designated country or territory. If none of those options fit you, then you have to click other. So unfortunately, for people like Americans, you would be other. But if you are lucky enough to be from a country listed on that list, then you click a designated country or territory. Now, question 4 just wants you to pick the country or territory that you are from on that list. Now, if you selected other in the previous question, unfortunately, you are unable to exchange your foreign license for the British one. This is going to be the case for any Americans watching, but jump to the end of this video and I'll give you some tips on what to do next. Now, if you are from one of those designated countries like Canada, like Australia, and you select your country from that list, you are going to get this notice that you can continue to drive in the UK without exchanging your license for 12 months after you become a resident. So being a resident would be you are in the UK on a visa, you are not a tourist. Now, after those 12 months, you have to exchange that license for a British one if you want to keep driving. Another important thing to note is whether you can drive manuals or automatics. Now, this screen will tell you you can only drive manual vehicles if you can prove that you passed a manual vehicle test. Now, if you are Canadian like me, the likelihood is that you are going to have what's called an automatic license. So in Canada, most people drive automatic cars. I know very few people who know how to drive a manual or a stick. So when you exchange your Canadian license for the British one, typically you are going to get an automatic license, which means you can only drive automatic cars. If you wanted to get a manual British license, you will have to start from the beginning and take all of those tests in the UK to get that license. Now there's pros and cons between manual and automatic. Typically, automatic cars in the UK are more expensive because there's just less of them. Most British people drive manual. There's a lot more of them, lots more used manual cars, so they're quite a bit cheaper. So you're gonna have to weigh the pros and cons. Would you rather keep the automatic license and pay more for your vehicle, or retake all the tests to get a manual license so you can drive cheaper manual cars? For me personally, I didn't see the point in going through that whole process again just to save a couple of pounds on a manual vehicle. So I will pay the premium to get an automatic car. I also find automatics are just vastly easier, and British roads can be pretty tricky. So I would much rather drive an automatic. Then I don't have to retake any of the tests again. So the next step really is just to apply. So you need to order a D1 form. There will be a link in this quiz when you get to this point. So you order that form. It is from the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Agency. So you send the form. It's also currently £43 to exchange your license. You are also going to have to send your license to them because you cannot have 2 licenses at once. So they will destroy your original one, but you will get your British one back to you in the post. Now, typically they estimate that this takes about 3 weeks, unless when filling out that form, you have checked off that you have some sort of medical condition that can affect your driving, then they will have to check all that stuff out themselves, which can delay the process. But if you are just like a regular driver, you don't have any medical issues that impact your driving ability, you send off the form, you send off your money and your old driver's license, and it should take about 3 weeks. Now, as a Canadian living in the UK, would I recommend exchanging your foreign license to a British one? Yes. Yes, I would. Even if you are going to live in the UK for a short amount of time, say 2 years on your youth mobility scheme visa, I do think it's worth it. The process of exchanging it is honestly painless. And at the end result is that you have a piece of British photo ID. So anytime you need to prove your identity, anytime you are applying for stuff and they need some sort of photo ID, anytime you get carded at the grocery store or at a pub, it's just so convenient to be able to show a British form of ID. Not to say that those places won't accept a foreign piece of photo ID, but it's just so convenient and so much easier to have something that people will recognize and they'll trust. I would even recommend doing this process if you're not totally sure if you're going to drive. I just think it's so easy and straightforward that you might as well, even if you don't end up using it for driving, you just use it for proving your identity. Now, would I recommend changing your foreign license to a British one if you can't exchange it? And this is for all the Americans watching. This is a tricky one, and unfortunately, you're gonna have to weigh the pros and cons for your own situation. How long do you plan to stay in the UK? If you are only gonna be in the UK for 2 years, maybe on the youth visa, or maybe you're coming here to study, I would probably advise against it. I would also think, realistically, can you get around without driving? If you are living in a big city like London, there is absolutely no need for you to be driving. It is a wasted expense. You are never going to be able to find parking, and you're going to be throwing away thousands of pounds every month that you really just don't need to do. However, on the flip side, if you are planning to settle in the UK, maybe you're coming here to be with your British partner, or you're going to be in the UK long term, you're going to live perhaps in a town or a village and you don't want to rely on public transport, then that might be a case that you should look at getting a British driver's license, but you will have to start at the beginning and take all the tests leading up to it. You can't just exchange what you already have. And that is like really annoying, and it is expensive because you got to pay for lessons, you got to pay for the tests. But if you are going to be here long term, it might just be worth it to get it over with. But definitely, if you are coming to live in London, you're coming to live short term, and you can't easily exchange your license, I don't think I would bother. If you have any questions about how to exchange your driver's license, make sure to leave a comment down below. But I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.